As we are just over a week away from season 7 spring kicking off, I think it's important to go over and determine whether or not this season 7 meta, all the changes we've seen from the preseason patch and recent patches, if the difference in meta between now and last split has is going to force us to reevaluate the strength of each role compared to each other, right? Because historically, throughout pretty much every split in LCS, the priority of roles, right, from most important to least important, has been AD carry first. AD carry scores the most points in fantasy, typically. And then mid second, top lane third, jungle fourth, and support fifth. And with with a lot of things being different in Season 7, with a lot of people in the community sort of being cognizant to maybe AD carry doesn't feel as good as it used to, right? Maybe jungle feels too good. Right? Has that correlated at all to these roles swapping their priority in terms of fantasy specifically? Unfortunately, there hasn't really been a lot of competitive games on the preseason patch in Season 7, except there was one big international tournament, if you remember it. It was IEM Gyeonggi. And it's important that we have that because that had all the big hallmarks of Season 7, right? All the things that make the Season 7 meta what it is, right? Colossus is in there, Redemption is in there, jungle changes. And while a lot of these things are slated for nerfs, right now it doesn't seem like they're actually going to be that impactful enough to change the meta drastically from what we saw at IEM Gyeonggi. Maybe 10 bans will have a bigger impact on it than these nerfs actually did or will. But as it stands right now, I don't think the meta will actually be that different from how we saw it at IEM Gyeonggi. So what I did is I went through and manually scored every single win at IEM and every single loss. And from that, I was able to sort of glean what the average scores are I was able to get sort of a rough picture, right, of what the average scores are going to be in Season 7. And here they are. So on the right, we have the IEM Gyeonggi averages for each position compared to last split on the left. And as it stands, AD carry is still the number one. AD carry is still the top dog, regardless of how maybe not impactful the role is, or how much AD carry players don't feel like they have impact on the map, right? Even though they're playing these like team fighting, supporting AD carries like Jhin and Jason, or not Jace, Jhin and Varus and Ashe and stuff. The reality is they're still getting the last hits, they're still getting the big multi-kills, right? They're still getting the most points. AD carry is still the most important role in fantasy, should be drafted first if you can help it. Mid lane is still second, but what's interesting, and this is where we get into the big change from Season 6 summer to Season 7 spring, is that jungle has jumped massively by a very large amount. And this can be attributed to two things. Specifically, it can be the difference between jungle and top right now is really what we're looking at. That's really the most important thing, right? Because it was top lane, it used to be top lane third, and then jungle fourth. So now, why is jungle so much higher than top lane now at IEM Gyeonggi? So there's two reasons. One, the experience changes for jungle, makes jungle feel a lot more impactful. They're able to get snowballing a lot earlier. You have a lot more impact on the map as a jungler right now on this patch. And secondly, for top lanes, hyper tanks were almost exclusively played at IEM Gyeonggi, right? There were 52 champion picks for top lane, and carry champions were played in 5 of them. And hyper tanks were played in the other 47. So coming in to Season 7, right, with Kennen and Camille already receiving nerfs, and the changes to Colossus, I don't feel that being that impactful. I still feel like hyper tank is going to be the preferred way to play top lane in Season 7, so as a result, I feel that jungle is definitely going to supplant top lane as the third most important role to draft in fantasy, with top lane falling down to number 4. Now, what these numbers actually seem to indicate is that support even might be more valuable than top lane. And I expect this to equal out slightly, because, again, as I said, IEM Gyeonggi was exclusively tanks, Only 5 times, was a carry top laner picked. And I don't expect it to be that polarized in Season 7, but I expect it to be about as much. So, right, maybe if you get to a point, you have your AD carry, your mid, and your jungle, and you're picking between your top lane and support. And if you have an opportunity to go for a really big Tier 1 support, maybe pick it instead of top lane. Top lane, in terms of fantasy point earnings, is not in a phenomenal spot right now. And maybe the meta will shift as things go along in Season 7 spring, but on the contrary to that, Riot has said they don't like making super big changes once the split has begun. They prefer to wait towards the end of the split to really make those big changes and shake things up again. So, for Season 7 spring, I am pretty confident in saying that your new draft role priority is going to be AD carry first, mid second, jungle third, top lane fourth, and support fifth. That's the priority I'll be using in my drafts, and that's what I'd recommend to you as well. So that's really the big difference between last split and this split, and that's really what you want to look out for in this new meta. So I might do one more concept video before we get into live drafts once Fantasy actually kicks off, and we can start going through individual choices, and I can start breaking those down live for you guys. But until then, I will see you guys next time.